All right, finna go ahead and get it started. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. For today's episode 209, we're going to be discussing who are you away from distraction. Now, this is a topic that hopefully you can kind of clarify within yourself and within your current situation that you're going through right now. I do believe that this can help a lot of people, so obviously it'll be something I'm talking about for today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Champ, and I help men build their foundation of masculinity. A few things I want to say before we get into today's topic. Make sure you go ahead and follow me on Twitch, TikTok, Rumble, and Spotify at Life of a Champ Podcast on every single platform. And other than that, I'll go ahead and get it started. So the question of the day is this, and I want you, if you can, feel free to leave it in the comments, whether you're rewatching this or watching this live. Answer the question before I get into it. Who are you away from distraction? I feel the reason why this question has such a significance is I feel like a lot of people they know themselves when they have a lot of distraction, when their mind is consumed on something, when they're thinking about something that they've seen, that they've heard, and it's very rarely that they're away from distractions. And for me to go ahead and go further with this podcast, I want to define what the distractions are. The distractions can be like, let's just say, chatter from other people. Let's just say it's something on social media, something that's trending, something that's going on that is really outside of your actual environment, right? Obviously, our environment has been expanded to outside our own, let's just say outside our own actual present environment. So it's going to extend the conversations that we have online, whether it's playing video games, whether it's going on social media. This is an extension of our environment, and we treat it, and it is treated as an extension of our environment, right? But I think people are very, very familiar with who they are, how they're going to react to certain things when certain things come out, regardless of what it is. But they're not very familiar with who they are away from distraction, right? They don't really put themselves in too many circumstances that would suggest them truly thinking for themselves, right? Or them being in a position where they can be present and in the moment. There's Everyone is so quick, and like I said, I'm a victim of this as well. Everyone is so quick to try to run away from what is actually going on within their own life. It's so easy to get caught up in the distractions because they're everywhere. What's on TV? It's a distraction. Regardless of what it is, it's a distraction. What's on social media? You open any social media platform. What is it? Nothing but distractions. That's what it is at the end of the day. If we're being honest. So, who are you away from distraction? If you're familiar with this, what do you think about? When you're in this mode of being, which I would recommend you try to figure this out for yourself, what do you think about? If you cannot even answer that question, there's already there's an alarm that should be already going off in your own mind saying, just for a second, what is actually going on? What am I actually thinking about? What do I actually need to think about? What are the problems that I need to think about? What are the issues that I'm trying to overcome right now that I must spend some time thinking about? What are the true focuses that I have? What are the true values that I have? Because here's the thing, if you're not clarified with any of these things, the values, the problems, the focuses, you're distracted. And that's what it is in its simplest form. You're distracted. You're getting consumed by things that might not even be your own, right? You might get caught up in things that are they're truly not of your wanted focus. They're truly not of what you actually value. They're not of your own problems. There are other people's focuses, there are other people's problems, there are other people's values, but yet you're making it seem like it is indeed yours. When in reality, it's not. But the way that you're acting out in the world, because you don't know who you are away from distraction, that is who you are. That is who you become. You become everything that is not you. You become everything that is outside of yourself. And I find that very, very interesting. Most people don't even know who they are in a setting without distraction. So, what does this look like, right? So, I mentioned these things. What is a setting without distraction? For me, it is being outside. I feel like I can there is stimulus outside of, you know, my own mind outside, but at least it's all natural and what is supposed to be of your environment. It's not a hyper stimulation. When you go outside, you shouldn't be hyper stimulated. It should be something very, very peaceful. That is what I found personally. And that is when I can really begin to break down my own focuses within my own life, my own values. I start to go over my own problems. I start to think about the things that are within myself, that are supposed to be my own organic thoughts, outside of any stimulus that might be influencing whatever I'm thinking. That is who you are away from distraction. But if you don't know who that is, you don't know where you are, you don't know what you're supposed to be thinking about, you don't know what you value, you don't know what you need to be focusing on because you have not spent time allowing your own mind to think about what it needs to think about. You're in this, you're caught up, you're just caught up. I'm going to say that. You're caught up in distraction. And like I said, distraction is going to be everything, pretty much everything that is outside of your own mind. It could be conversations that you have with friends. That is of absolutely no value. That means absolutely nothing is a distraction. Like I said, it could be something that is trending on social media. Let's just say, oh, I don't know, a rap beef or something stupid. I don't know. It doesn't matter what it is, really. It's going to be something that is outside of your own realm of thinking. And then here's the thing: a lot of those people who, let's just say they want to go ahead and develop their own mind. They spend time trying to figure out who they are away from distraction. In the midst of this discovery of self, they become bored. Their minds are simply something to be distracted. They need to be fed information in order to have actual thoughts. And that is something that if that is you, you should fear. There should be something that you're thinking about that consumes your mind, that is outside of all of this stimulus, that isn't even necessarily caused by this stimulus. That is how you know you're present and in the moment. That is how you know you're focusing on things that are not outside of yourself, and you're focusing on the correct things. So the question I have for you is this: who are you without these things? Without this stimulus, without all these distractions that we've mentioned, who are you? I answer that question. Like I said, I think it's an interesting topic because hopefully this podcast should get you thinking and hopefully of the right things. But at the very but in this very second, if you're watching this, like I said, whether you're watching this or watching this live, I want you to take this moment to be present, to say, who am I away from distraction? Am I satisfied with this person? Do I like this person? Do I like these thoughts that enter my head when I'm by myself? Am I figuring out and focusing on the right things? Am I mindful of what I should be mindful of? These are all things I think must be analyzed and must be truly thought about. There's not enough people that spend enough time by themselves, which is what I mentioned on my last podcast. But more importantly, if they're not spending time with themselves, what are they spending all of their time on? They're spending on, obviously, distraction. Everything that is outside of themselves, like I mentioned. Who are you when you're by yourself? Away from your environments, like I mentioned, you're the extension of your environment being online and things like that. Who are you when you're not giving when you're not getting these artificial thoughts that you claim that are yours, but are simply a matter of influence? Who are you really? Away from the things that stimulate your mind, what does your mind actually think about? What does it actually care about? What are the problems that you're actually trying to discover? What are the parts of you that are grayed out that you're trying to bring life to, bring focus to? And then you must ask yourself the really harsh question: do you even know who this person is, or do you not? And for many of us, if we truly admit it deep down, most of us don't know who this person is. This person has been lost. This person, who we should be all familiar with, is a person we don't even know. And it should be our truest self, our most authentic, our most genuine, and our most true self. The person that is you without anything. The being that is you without any influence. Focusing on all the things that you deem to be worthy of your focus. That is outside, that is within yourself, not outside of yourself. The question I have for you is this. If you don't know who this person is, like I had mentioned, do you think there's any utility in getting to know who that person truly is? Because if you look at the people who are continuously distracted, obviously they see no utility. Because if they truly did, and if they were, of the right focus, they would understand that that has utility. So I ask a question for you. If you're acting by not building a relationship with yourself and you're constantly distracted, is there any utility in building that relationship or getting to know who that person is, who is away from distraction? And be honest with yourself. There's a lot of people who want to constantly run away, and this is what it is at the end of the day. You put the monster in the closet, thinking that you can get away, distracting yourself and overstimulating yourself on things that don't matter, and just for you to know that that monster is getting so big in that closet that it'll just burst out at any second, especially in the moments that you least want it to happen. But it's going to happen, and it happens to everybody. There's a lot of people who like to try to hide away these things in the closet and don't want to really focus and place any energy on these things. But these are things that are absolutely necessary. Like I mentioned, what are your values? What are the problems you need to think about? What are the things that deserve your focus? Regardless if they're hard, regardless if they're difficult, regardless if they're truly uncomfortable, which a lot of these things are, obviously. But there is utility in trying to figure those things out. There is utility in building that relationship with yourself outside of distraction. It is a part of the grounding of a human being, is to be mindful of your own mind and not to be mindful of everything else that is outside of yourself, that you cannot control. Because at the end of the day, at least if you're by yourself, away from distraction, you can control and you can curate all the thoughts that you have. All the bad thoughts, you can say, you know what, that's a bad thought. I don't want to have that thought anymore. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that thought. It's not always as simple as that or easy as that, but quite frankly, that's what you can do. Instead of you just being force-fed a bunch of thoughts that don't matter to your life at all, that you do not even care about truly, or maybe you do, and it is affecting the way in which you live and your own mental state, which can be social media, which happens very, very often, ridiculously often, for things that could just be turned off and you be focused in your own mind about the things that truly need to be focused on. I don't understand why people neglect this part of themselves. They neglect this relationship with themselves. So the question I have for you again, who are you away from distraction? Are you familiar with this person or are you not? And if you're not, why are you not familiar with this person? You must venture out, regardless of what this looks like. I just gave you an example of what I personally do. I get out outdoors where I can allow my own thoughts to come to me that are outside of my phone, outside of my environment. I can focus on things that are deserving of my focus instead of giving so much of my focus away to something that truly does not deserve my focus. Things that are outside of myself, things in which I cannot control. We live in a world where we are fed what to think and how to feel. But without this lure that is all these things that we can think about, what would really come to mind? What really comes to mind? And when I keep on saying that people run away from this, it's because I see it all too often. They don't want to handle their own shit. They don't want to figure out their problems. They just want to push it off. Oh, look at this funny video. Oh, I'm just going to distract myself by playing video games. I'm just going to pay attention and give all my focus to what's going on in this election. Right? Everything that is to get away from the problems that they're currently facing. Everything to get away from figuring out who they actually are without distraction. And then a lot of these people, they wonder why they run into problems, even more problems. It's because here's the thing, the problems that you should have dealt with a while ago, you never dealt with them. And by you not dealing with them, you just created more problems for yourself. And then those are the same type of people that get mad at life, that start to hate life, that start to get depressed, that are anxious people. A lot of those people, if we're being honest, they just haven't dealt with or thought about the things that they needed to deal with or think about. That's what it is a lot of the time. They keep pushing these things off. The reason why I've been able to curate my life in a way where I can void myself away from these certain things or these certain feelings or emotions or whatever you like to call them, situations, less than ideal situations, is because I've decided to confront everything that I needed to confront. All of the demons that are in my closet, I've decided to go ahead and deal with them. What else do you have to do? That's my thing. What else should you do? But here's the thing, not asking yourself those two questions would be the exact reason that you're in that predicament. There's only utility in trying to figure out who you are and what you need to think about. In figuring out who you are away from distraction. Everyone is doing it, so it looks so familiarized, right? Everyone is, they're getting distracted. So it looks alluring because it's what everybody else is doing. And then we're convinced that this is somewhat normal when this is not normal at all. Everyone believes and everyone knows that they should have a better relationship with their phone, with this extension of our environment. But yet so few people actually take the time to develop that relationship with themselves, or even to better control the relationship they have with this extended environment that we have. But with that being said, ask yourself the question, with this extended environment, is this even close to the natural state of the way that humans are supposed to function? Are they supposed to think about this many things? Are they supposed to be worried about so many topics and so many things that are literally away from their environment? Of course, there's certain things like, let's just say, for example, a war that's going on within the world. And not to say that this isn't of importance, but at the end of the day, if you really think about it, it's not affecting your life. And yet so many people get emotionally overwhelmed by certain things that truly don't matter to your life. If we're being honest, regardless of what happens, is it really going to change your own current situation? And the answer is probably not. Whatever's going on this election, at the end of the day, is it really going to affect your life? Probably not. The election's going to happen, and the next day after that, your life is going to be the exact same unless we get into a damn near civil war. Let's be honest, right? But yet everybody wants to make it seem like these things are super, super important. They place all their focus and invest all their time into indulging within these topics or indulging within these, let's just say, extra stimulus. Whether it's video games, whether it's what's going on within the presidential, whatever the fuck, it doesn't even matter. They invest so much of their time and energy in all these things, and they forget that they need to place their time and attention and focus into themselves, into what truly matters in this life, which is yourself. Because here's the thing, in order to make the world better, you must make yourself better. And that's what it is at the end of the day. In order to be a better person for other people, you must be a better person for yourself. You must be taking the time for yourself. You must be figuring out who you are away from all this bullshit. As that's what it is. It's excess bullshit. So the next question I have for you is this. Do we function best when we have an abundance of stimulus? Or do we function best when we get to choose what our mind is stimulated by? and what ideas that we go in full depth thinking about? That is a question I have for you. Think about that for a second, because like I said, it sounds like common sense until you realize that nobody is acting or nobody is questioning any of these things that have a very simple and easy answer, but yet nobody's implementing this easy solution, which makes it even all that funnier. It's an obvious answer. The obvious answer is when we choose to function in a way where our mind is being when our mind when we choose to focus on what our mind is supposed to focus on, that is when we function best. Obviously, when we have a select amount of focuses that say this is worthy of my time. Let's just say, for example, it is a skill that you're trying to develop. Why worry about if this is a skill that you're trying to develop? There's so many things that you probably are worrying about that have no effect on your life at all. But if you place all that time, attention, and focus onto what you're actually trying to build, you might be better off. You'd probably be a lot more ahead within developing that skill. But instead, you're not, because you give your time and attention and focus to things that don't matter at all. This blows my mind when I see so many people choosing time and time again to place their focus on something that doesn't even matter at all. Why is it relevant? Why do you care? And here's the thing, it's a herd mindset. You care because other people care. And that's it. There's no deep thought. You care because other people care. And honestly, just because other people care about it doesn't mean it's worth your time, attention, and energy. Here's the thing, I'm not telling you what you need to think. I'm telling you, this is what I'm telling you. I'm not telling you what specifically to think about. I'm telling you, think for yourself. At the very least, think for yourself. Regardless of what happens or regardless of what comes of that, that's on you, right? But at the end of the day, I would be doing you a disservice to say, continue with this extra stimulus. Indulge within this extended environment that truly has no bearing on how you will actually perform and function within this life. That's ridiculous. I would never give that advice. But here's the thing: at the end of the day, what are you going to do in your free time? Because I could talk about this all day. You can even agree with me. But here's the thing: if you're not doing anything, if you're not taking any action, if you're not building a relationship with yourself, if you're not trying to figure out who you are away from distraction, then none of this matters at all. So, what I have for you is this. Moving forward, it could be right after this podcast. It could be tomorrow. You make time for it, right? Try to better figure out who you are away from this distraction, away from this extra stimulus, away from all these things that don't matter and that you know truly don't matter at all. Who are you away from these things? If you look at the people that you most want to be like, for the most part, they've spent a lot of time figuring out all these things that I've mentioned on today's episode. They spent their time away from distraction, figuring out what they want to think about, what they value, the problems that they have, and they try to clarify and answer all of these things. But yet, you would much rather be fascinated and overindulge within that person's character than to be exactly like that character. They don't want to face who they truly are, and that is the harsh reality of so many people. They don't want to face who they actually are, what they're actually going through. It is much easier to not do that. Of course, it is. It's much easier to not face what you need to face. But at the end of the day, these things don't go away. They kind of go away, but they don't really go away. And everyone knows this, but no one will say it. You can run away, and maybe you'll get away for a few years. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, it's still going to be plaguing your mind. It's going to be in the back of your mind still. You're going to know that's still not something that you figured out. You know this. So don't act like you don't know this. Right? I've done it. I've tried to run away from a few things as well. But I couldn't run away because it lingered too much in the back of my mind for me to just say, "No, I'm going to put it off." I seen too many people doing that, and I thought to myself, there's no way in hell I could do that. No way, I can't do that. I just can't do that. I can't function. And then I spent all my time thinking about and focusing on who I am away from all of this distraction. I figured out the solutions to my problems that I was going through, right? I allowed myself to figure out what I truly value. I allowed myself to figure out what are worthy focuses that I need to focus in on. Remove all the distraction, remove all the bullshit. Do not get distracted by any of this stuff that happens within this world. Focus on yourself. The only way you're going to make a world a better place is not trying to figure out a problem that is so far away from you. Figure out the problems that you have within yourself. Become a better character yourself, and then you can make the world better. Because here's the thing, there's going to be problems that exist within this world that don't involve you at all. Why place any focus in on any of these things, almost acting like you can make a difference, when in reality we all know you're probably not going to be able to make a difference. People give themselves this illusion of making a difference, right? They give themselves this illusion by being up to date and knowing about a lot of things that are going on within the world, when in reality you're not even understanding what's going on within your own fucking mind. And yet you want to make the world a better place. You can't even make you better you. What makes you think that you can make the world a better place? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You see it all too often. Figure out your own shit first. Take care of your own business. Focus on the things that you need to focus in on. Lock in. And then you can think about making the world a better place. Because up until that point, you can't do anything. You're not capable of doing anything. Like I said, you're not even capable of figuring out what you actually want to think about and what is actually worthy of your focus and for worthy of what to actually think about. And the thing with this is, I know I've observed this, and if you have observed this as well, I want you to leave in the comments. With this extended environment, we have this illusion of abundance of choices. Right? You can watch whatever show, you could play whatever video game, you can go on whatever social media app and figure out whatever about whatever, right? So much choice. You can go on YouTube, search up any video about anything, literally anything, right? There's so many choices, and of course, it's an illusion. It's an illusion of choice because it all leads you back down to the same result. Distracted, overstimulated, struggling to figure out their own problems, struggling to figure out their own values, and struggling to figure out worthy focuses that truly deserve your time and attention. It's all going to come back down to distraction at the end of the day. We have this tendency to make things matter that don't really matter, that go on within in our environments, like I said, in our extended environments. But they're not relevant to our lives, and we should not make it seem like they're truly relevant to our lives, when in reality, we all know that they're truly not. We make them relevant. We make them topics of conversation. We make them topics of our focus when they don't really matter. They don't affect our lives. But here's the thing. They do affect our lives. And that's the interesting thing is like people think that it affects their life in one way, when in reality it really affects your life in a completely different way that you didn't even know, that you're not even mindful of. So yes, are you spending your time wisely? Are you trying to figure out who you are away from distraction, or are you not? Because if you're not, be prepared to face the consequences of your own actions. Ah, surprise, surprise. You have to face the consequences of your actions, or rather, you have to face the consequences of your inaction. Once you look at that, almost caught me by surprise, man. But yes, at the end of the day, if your mind and your focuses and your problems become a second or third thought, like it is for so many people, right? Your own thoughts, your own whatever goes on within your own mind, and analyzing your own problems. If this becomes your second or third thought, where you're passively you're doing something, you're actively doing something else and you're passively thinking about all these things that I've mentioned, what will your life look like at the end of the day? Will that look like a life that you truly want? Will that look like a life that is truly worth living? For me personally, no. There's just no way I can do that. It won't look like a life that's worth living. It won't look like a life that is worthy of my one time that I have on earth. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. You have one life, and of course everyone has heard this hundreds of times, right? You have one life, but yet everybody acts as if they have unlimited lives when you don't. So here's the thing. You have one opportunity to have a mind. You have one opportunity to have your own thoughts. And yet you're choosing to be distracted. You're choosing to focus in on everything that isn't your own mind and your own thoughts, that aren't relevant to your life at all. For what? For what result? For what ideal? What is the consequence of your action? Think about these things. Develop this relationship with who you are outside of distraction, because if you do not, be prepared to face the consequences of your action and your inaction. Me personally, like I said, I can give you my example. I go out in nature. I try to enjoy my time. I try to allow my mind to not be stimulated by anything that is outside of my environment, but more importantly, to be mindful and present and focused on what is actually going on within my present life. What are the things that I can control? What are the problems that I'm going through? What are the things that need to be thought about? What are the things that need to be processed, more importantly? I'll read this comment and then I'll end it off. Wait until people find out that if you face and solve your problems as soon as they happen instead of pushing it off, they're actually going to go away quicker. Hey, it is as simple as that. It is not easy, but it is as simple as that. But at the end of the day, there's nothing more worth your time than to figure out your own mind at the end of the day. Everybody knows this, yet we have more people than ever that are focused on things that don't matter and that are truly distracted. I find it interesting. One thing I want to say before I go ahead and end it off, I'll be doing a series upcoming for this next 10 episode of the podcast, episodes 210 to 220. I'll be doing a highly anticipated, something that I'm truly excited about. I'm going to be doing a dating series. It's dating and attraction. It's one of the first things that I've ever maxed out when it comes to my self-improvement journey. And this is something that I am very, very thrilled to share all the information that I've learned and acquired over my experience and my years of learning, right? More importantly. So I just wanted to let you guys know that this was episode 209 of the Life of a Champ podcast, talking about who you are away from distraction. And tap in with the next podcast is going to be on Thursday. Like I said, I'm starting the series, something I'm very, very, very much looking forward to. It is one of my favorite topics ever. And just leave a like on my YouTube shorts. If you can't catch a full podcast but still want to get the game that I've been spitting in podcasts or live streams, tap in with that for sure. Next live stream is going to be on Monday, so I look forward to that as well. Other than that, I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all work with these motherfuckers, because you know that I am and you know that my people are for sure as well. Spend time with yourself. Figure out who you are. In a world filled with so many people who think that they know things, be the person that at least knows who you are truly. That is all I have to say for today's episode. Like I said, tap on the next podcast on Thursday, man. Y'all have a good night.